Hey everybody, what's up? In this match I play Attica, who has played about 200 games, low stakes, and he's got a pretty good ROI down there, about 17% I think, around there. The reason I chose this match is because I thought I played pretty well. He's got a fairly annoying style, fairly aggressive pre-flop, and then pretty solid post-flop. So let's get on with the match. And this is the second match. The first match, we both got it in on the first hand with ace king, and he hit a 4 flush. So probably a little tilted, raising my ace 3 there. And make a loose call with 7-8 deep, which obviously doesn't work out on this particular flop. And he checks it down. And if I was going to bet to try and take it off him, can't really do that now the jack comes. That's a pretty horrible card, and yeah, not much I can do now. Check it down, and he had pocket threes, so as it turned out, if I fired, I would have taken that pot down most likely. But we learned something, which is that he's not going to sort of fire willy-nilly into the boards. He's got pretty good sort of hand reading, in the sense that king queen's a hand that's, or a board that's likely to hit my calling range, and so he sort of slowed down there. Alright, limp my 10s. He has been attacking my limps a little bit. So the last match, as I said, was ace king and ace king on the first hand, but before that I think we played one other and he attacked my limps. And I'm going to bet this pretty aggressively because I expect to be called by a 9 or a queen or a jack, or even possibly an 8. So full pot, and unfortunately that gets to fold, and then he folds to my jack. So nice, pretty aggressive guy, but he's managed to avoid my good hands so far. And he folds to queen jack, and ace 2, not really good enough to call his raise. The 7-8 call I made earlier was loose, but I think it's better than ace 2, or at least I've got clean cards. Alright, limp my ace 6 and take a stab. He calls. That's a lovely turn, and just betting 40 here. Now that I've sucked out, I don't want to scare him off, just trying to get value in case he's got a sort of a 3 or a 4 or 7, 5 or 2, whatever he's called on. And he folds, unfortunately. So I like my bet sizing on the turn there, but it didn't work out. And here I decide to 3-bet him. He's a tight, aggressive player, and most of the time he's going to fold to these 3 bets, and he does. Limp my 9-7, take a stab with my gut shot, and now I've binked on the turn so I can beat the 5, and I'm going to try and take the pot down here. I've got some equity. I could catch a 6 or another 7. This I'm considering to be a semi-bluff, and then he raises me here on the turn, so I've got to let that go. Alright, 3x from him pre-flop, and fold my queen 3. Not really going to be making any more horrible loose calls, I hope. And raise an ace jack, and then he folds one. So he's not limping much, he's raising there, or folding generally. And king 3. Hit 2 pair, and I betted. I mean, I know it's a fairly dry board, but I thought with the hearts I might get a call from him. So that's twice I've bet the flop with a monster, once with a set and once with with 2 pair, and neither time did I get a call. So this is one of those things where if the guy had half a hand, obviously I want to be betting, whereas now that he doesn't, I wish I'd checked and let him catch up a little bit. Alright, more raising from him. Not much I can do there with queen 6. Limping, and he attacks my limp. 4x, so we'll let that go. Oh yeah, now he's already got his raising boots on. And we've hit top pair, nice. He checks, and I'm betting for value here. I expect to get called by a king if he hasn't bet that, or possibly by a lower pocket pair or something like jack 10 or queen 10. And now that he calls me, the kicker is definitely playing here. so I've got to be a little bit careful that he hasn't got a better ace. I mean, I can't beat any of the aces pretty much. You know, if he's got ace sort of, 9 or whatever, I'm dead, So just check this. Ace 7, I'm dead. And he had the king, so that was good. Nice bit of value there, and didn't overplay it. Sort of controlling pot size. Limp, and he doesn't attack my limp, which is good. Take a stab and get called. Check it down. Here I'm actually really tempted to call. I can't imagine him betting this way with a 7. Oh, sorry, let me take that back. I can't imagine him having 7s in his range too often, and I can't imagine him betting this way with an 8, is what I mean to say, which leaves him on misdraws and possibly a 2 or a 3, and, I mean, the problem is I've got no kicker, so I can't beat the 2, but I can beat the misdraws. But I'll let it go. Alright, call with King Jack, horrible flop, and he hasn't been out of line, he's been checking a lot of flops, even when he's hit. So I'll have to pass this up, of course. Not going to make a move there. Alright, raise, and he 3-bets me. Let that go. Jack, Jack, yum, and he's folded to Jack, Jack twice. So nice timing, sir. Alright, limp. And he stabs. He hasn't stabbed much, so I'll let him have it. And Jack 8 suited. I mean, it's not a great call. I let it go. It's close though. It's close to. I mean, I'd call Jack 9 suited for sure. Just the 2 gap is a little bit much. Alright, here he bets, and I raise him, trying to push him off a bunch of hands that I can beat, like 4s or 3s or 2s, or at least make him pay if he's got any of those. He calls me, and the 2 is just the worst card in the world, especially the 2 of spades. So, if he did have a 3, I'm dead, or if he did have 2 spades. So I'm going to check it behind, and luckily he checks the river, and I was getting some thin value there, because he had a 4. Just a point here that I want to make, and that is that the person who is the most aggressive post-flop without sort of spazzing out and losing a bunch of chips when they shouldn't is normally going to do pretty well on these things. So as you know, I like to be pretty passive pre-flop, but post-flop I'm really aggressive, like raising middle pair here with no kicker. And part of that aggression is also controlling pot size and taking the initiative. Alright, fold my 6-3 of course. Here I raise, and he calls, and I decide not to fire out, and I think in hindsight that's not the greatest. I should have bet this flop. I'm not sure why I didn't. Alright, Queen 8, and nice, picked up a little flush draw and a gut shot, so I bet to control him. Now I've got top pair, and bet, get called, and the ace is not the nicest card in the world. I checked this, and he bets full pot, and he's done this before when I've sort of shown weakness. He's bet full pot on the river, so I think he might be doing this with a weaker hand, quite possibly a sort of a draw, or like a gut shot like 9-7, or possibly a 10 or a jack is quite possible as well. I mean, I was thinking he probably had a 10 or a jack, and he was sort of trying to push me off this. The bet sizing suspicious. If he really did have a king, I think he'd be going less. I don't think he'd be betting an ace here too aggressively, so the only card I'm worried about is if he has a king. But I think he's trying to push me around, so I'm going to make the call. And he turned out to have 7-9, which I said that here in the video he might have 7-9. I wasn't really thinking that at the time. I was thinking he might have had a 10 or a jack, and he was trying to push me around. So that was nice. Picked up a nice little pot there. Alright, Jack 3. Alright, limping, and I might even fold that after I've taken a pot off him. He might be upset, but he seems fairly cool. So limping, get away with that. And I'm not going to bet this 3 flush board. Now I hit the jack on the turn. He bets, and I raise him. And I think it's an interesting move. Why do I raise him? As a pot control measure, so that he will check the river to me, and I get a free showdown. And of course, if he raises me, then I can easily get away from the hand. So the idea is to slow him down, control the pot size, and get a free river. And that's why I check raise on the turn there. And it works just as I hoped it would. I didn't really want him to be betting like full pot on the river and putting me under pressure again. So I took the pressure off myself by check raising the turn. Alright, raise with King Jack. And he's getting pretty aggressive pre-flop. And 3 bets me, no problem. And he's getting really aggressive. So, you know, as I said, this guy's got like a 17% ROI over 200 games. It's a very small sample, but he can obviously play a little bit. He seems to be pretty good at not overplaying flops and pretty aggressive pre-flop. Ace-2, not really good enough to call. Let it go, getting a little conservative in my old age maybe. Here I limp the 4s, and I should bet this and choose not to, and now he bets the turn, I've got to fold, so that's an error. Sort of showing weakness and letting him get into the pot there. Alright, he limps, and I've hit middle pair, so I'm just going to bet out. Get called. Now I've got a gut shot as well as middle pair, so I check and flat and just check behind. So yeah, if I show any weakness, he attacks me. But he did have a hand. He had sort of a pair and a sort of the draw as well. So it's not like it was a completely unreasonable bet, and I had shown weakness there on the turn. Alright, limping, and he attacks my limp again. And he's getting pretty aggressive pre-flop. Jacks, and he folds. I've had jacks 3 times to 3 folds pre-flop. 10-7, and I 3-bet him. Haven't done this much. I think I did it once earlier, and I just feel that, you know, I'm probably a little bit behind on my 3-bet ratio. I like to do it every sort of 9 or 10 of their raises. And 10-7 again, limp it, and he attacks. So he's getting really aggressive. And call. I'm just going to see a flop. I'm a little bit deep to getting my stack in with pocket 3s. Horrible flop, and we'll move on there. Alright, ace-3, and he 4x's me. He's been doing this a lot, and I think I need to call. Not the best flop in the world, but I've got a gut shot, so I'm not folding. I've got position as well. That's a nice turn. I mean, giving me the diamond flush now. He checks, and with this many chips, I'm just a little bit worried that if I bet, he might shove, and I don't really want to be calling. So I'm going to check behind, and I hit the ace on the river. Should be a good card, I hope. He checks, and now I have to think about betting. The question is, will a worse hand call me in this spot? And I can't see it. I mean, there's possible that he's got something like, I don't know, sort of 5s or 6s that he hasn't bet again, but I think he would have bet that again on the turn. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what he could have where he would call me here. So I'm going to check behind, and he had king 9. He's getting a little bit aggressive with his attacking my limps there. Alright, folds the next one, and I stab and get called, so now I'm just going to give it up, and it's all his on the river. And he's 3xing here. It's okay for him to 3x as long as I don't start shoving over them and making him fold, and I haven't had any hands to shove. So king 4, I mean, right here he 3x's and I do shove, and that costs him quite a bit of his stack. That's why people don't 3x at this stage when it's this many chips relative to the size of their stack. And I fold the 5-7. I think he might be due for a shove over my limp. I mean, he's willing to be aggressive. He hasn't learned his 3x lesson. Unfortunately, I can't do much. And he shoves over the flop, or Yorsa. And then he folds the next one. And I limp 8-3, and he attacks again. So here, I mean, the plan against this guy, I think, would be to limp a pretty good hand, have him attack me pre-flop, and then shove. I think if I can catch a hand, that should work pretty well. So he's being aggressive. I'd love to be shoving over his raises. And here it is. I'm going to limp ace-10, hope he raises, then I can shove. And he checks behind. But I hit top pair, which is nice. And I'm betting small here just to try and induce in case he wants to get aggressive. And he flats me. 10 on the turn's good. And here the bet size is rather interesting. If he has some sort of draw, like 6-7 or 5-6 or 5-7 or a diamond draw or whatever he might have, 9-10, Jack-9 or 7-9, I want to make him pay for it, which is why I'm sort of putting this sort of raise sizing here. And he calls, and now I'm trying to make my hand look like a bluff and hopefully get called by an 8, but I don't. Should have got a little smaller there probably. Alright, Queen 9, limp, raise from him, so he's a real pain pre-flop, this guy. And I'm raising to control him, and he shoves, so that didn't work out too well. And Jack 5 lets me get away with a limp. And I check here, and he bets full pot here. Got to think about this, he hasn't raised me pre-flop. I don't think there's going to be many kings or queens in his range. So he could be doing this, it's possible he's got a 10, but he could be doing this on a jack or just air. And I raise him here on the turn because my read is that he's not going to be strong. And he calls, which is probably a jack, possibly a queen, and now I'm going to bet pretty big river here and get the fold, thank goodness. So I think I outplayed him a little bit there. Possible that I did. Alright, he raises, going to let it go. Here we go, pocket 8s, he's low, he's ready to go. So I limp these and hope he raises. Limp, raise, and now the second part of the plan is shove. And he calls me an ace-4, which is lovely. And the flop is ace-4-2, which is not lovely. So he's run pretty good on all ends against me, this guy, over the last few matches, never mind. And we have to start again. Alright, raise my 9-4, getting a little aggressive at this stage. And raising, and I think he's slowing down. Queen 10, I'm going to call, I'm going to 3-bet, I thought I was going to call. I'm not really sure if it's a good call at this stage. I mean, I do tend to call when I'm this deep, or what would be about sort of 30 big blinds deep roughly. But alright, I 3-bet him, and all 3 bets have worked this match, so that's nice. Limping this, if he raises I'll shove, of course. And horrible flop, which I check behind on, horrible turn, and I'm just going to give it up. Ace-King is a drawing hand, and it's missed its draw. 3x from him, I'd love to be able to shove, but can't. And hit top pair, take it down. More 3x action from him. I'd love to be shoving over his 3x's. And here I've got to think he hasn't 3-bet me. And he's fairly aggressive. The blinds are big. I think he'd be getting aggressive with a decent ace. So I'm going to c-bet here. He calls me and then checks the turn. I'm really thinking something like sort of Jack 10 or Queen 10. And now he checks the river. I think I can take it off him as long as he doesn't make a hero call. So 250, and he folds. So I think I was right there. He had something like Jack 10 or Queen 10. Alright, 9-6, let that one go. And took down the pot there. And here, I mean, this guy's been 3xing, and I've really got to punish it with any sort of shovable hand, which is why I'm shoving ace-7 there. He folds, and now ace-9, with his stack I'm happy to get it in with ace-9. So I limp, he raises, and I shove it. And this was the plan. He's got him in here with ace-9 versus king-7. I just need to hold one time. And flop comes down with a 7, that's not so good. And an 8 on the turn, 8 of clubs, meaning that I can only hit an ace or a 9 or a 6 if it's a non-club, which reduces my outs greatly. And luckily, a magic little 6 of diamonds, which I felt I deserved. I mean, he's won all the all-ins over the last few games, and I finally picked one up. So that's the end of this match. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to stick it together with another match which I played the other day. So until next time, take care and run good. Hey everybody, what's up? I thought I'd look at this match because this guy's a winning player over a pretty short sample. I think he had like 40 or 50 games and was running at 20%, but he's really aggressive and gave me a lot of trouble. So I thought it'd be an interesting match to have a look at, especially just going through the steps that I go through against these sort of opponents. If this doesn't work, then I try that, and so on. So starting off the match, never played him before, tried limping, and he attacks my limp, no problem. Obviously I'm going to fold my queen 2, and raises from his button, and 7-4 I'm going to fold, and at this stage I'm starting to think, well, he looks pretty aggressive. Alright, so therefore I try a min raise the next hand. Now that's my next step. First of all, I've tried limping, he attacked it, he attacked from his button. I'm going to try a min raise. What I'm trying to do here is control him and get him to flat call. If I can control him with a min raise, then I'll use that more often in order to sort of control the pot size. Against these really aggressive guys, it's all about controlling pot size. But I don't want to be too passive and not get into any pots, so hence the min raise, even though they're junky cards, just trying to see a flop. And he flats, great, and then he donks here, and this truly is a sign of a pretty aggressive guy. Not sure if he's got a jack or an 8 or what here, but I think I'll just let it go. No need to get into a big pot at this stage. So at least the min raise controlled him, that was good. Alright, another 3x from him, so he's just out and out aggressive. At this stage I'd be giving this guy my color code. I use a color code for the different opponents, purple for tight players, green for stations, and red for aggressive guys, and then I sort of further refine that by putting in notes, of course. And this guy would be a red. Not sure if he's tight aggressive or loose aggressive. Probably loose aggressive. Right, he attacks my limp. I thought I could try another one, didn't work. And he's just raised 100% pre-flop. So I try the min raise again, and he 3-bets me. So he's looking really, really hard to control. Raising 100% of his buttons, raising all of my limps, and now he's attacking my min raises. So this is not good. The next logical step would therefore be to try a 3x raise. Here I just try a speculative call, jack 9, completely miss the flop and give it up. Yeah, the next stage would be to try a 3x raise. You see I folded a couple of big blinds there, small blinds there, because I'm not going to sort of compete on absolute rubbish. Also I want to, this is what I talk about, I want to sort of try and give myself the right sort of image. So by folding a couple of hands in a row, perhaps I'll get more credit if I limp or try a raise next time. Right, queen 6, and I'm getting some junk, and limp, attack. So by folding a couple and then limping, still didn't get any credit. So definitely going to have to try a 3x raise soon. And here I 3-bet him pre-flop. I haven't done this yet in the match, and I want to do it while the stacks are still sort of fairly deep, and I can get away from it if it goes wrong. And I want to know if he's going to call or not, whether this could possibly be a good source of chips. And he folds, which is nice. And I limp call, which is a pretty weak hand, but I've been getting junk and then have to give it up, so that sucks. And fold my 7-3, and here I raise 3x. The min raise is getting no respect, so now I'm trying for a slightly larger raise size. That's the next step. So first of all, just to go over these steps to make it clear, I try limping, it doesn't work. I try the min raise, that doesn't work, and then I either try this 3x raise, or I try folding a few and then seeing if you let me limp or raise. So first 3x raise, and he calls it, and pretty good flop with an overcard and a draw, and I just c-bet it and take it down. Alright, ace 4, a little bit too weak to call in my opinion. I know that he's raising like 100%, but I want to have a decent ace. And I'm just going to fold my 7-2 there, and let go of 6-4, and now I try the 3x raise. It worked last time, he just flat called me. This time he 3-bets me. Wow. This guy is just really, really aggressive, just really putting it on me, and I can catch pretty much nothing. So, not much fun. Never mind. Alright, finally get a hand. Gonna flat it, and a horrible, horrible flop. So next hand, oh, he checks, but with 3 clubs here I don't think I can steal in this spot. I just think I'm getting called by a random club too often, and then I'm going to have to fire the river, and that's really horrible if I'm actually behind, you know, if he calls me down on like a 5 or a 9 or something. So I'm not going to bet this spot. Alright, king 3, try a raise, and he 3-bets me. Again. So he's attacking my raises, he's attacking my limps, and he's attacking me from the button. Really aggressive, really putting me under pressure, and I'm not getting great cards either. Alright, Jack 2, got to fold of course, and my 4-3, and I'm down to 1,000 chips. Not going to panic. I mean, I wouldn't be panicking till I was around sort of 300 or 400 chips really. Alright, more 3x action from him pre-flop. So, you know, the blinds went up and he's still 3xing. Here I'm going to limp call, and he doesn't bet, and donks on the pot. I mean, I'm really putting a king out of his range, so I think therefore I can get a fold out of him if he's got an 8 or a 6. And he calls me, and the turn's a 6. That's a pretty bad card. I mean, that's half of his range here. I mean, yeah, he might have draws, 5-7 or 7-9, but the 6 is a pretty large percentage of his range here. So I'm now going to give up. I'm going to check and hope that he has one of those 5-7 or 7-9 hands, and he actually does. So he bet out his draw there for full pot and called a fairly decent raise. So a bit lucky there that he never hit, but you know, I made a read. The read was that he wasn't going to be strong and I could possibly fold him, and he called with his draw, and I still won the hand, so it worked out okay. So back up to about 1,100 chips, and of course he's going to raise, and Queen Jack. Here I'm going to limp, call of course, and now the flop comes down with a Jack. I'm pretty happy to get my stack in here if I can. He bets 110, and I raise him up 3x. The reason I'm doing this part of the metagame here is that a couple of hands ago I raised him on pure air, the Queen 10 on a King 8-6 board, so I'm hoping to get him shoving an 8, or even just a random bluff sort of shove here, because he knows that I'm capable of bluffing him in this spot. But he folds, so it didn't work as I hoped, but that was the plan. Alright, pocket 10s, and I'm going to obviously 3-bet him here, and he folds, so nice dodge by him. Alright, limping my Jack 6, and he attacks, and I think I probably should give up limping hands quite so much. The reason I'm still doing it is I do want to limp and check raise him. Alright, folds to my King Jack, nice timing sir. Here I'll limp call, and just about the worst flop I could possibly imagine. Give that up. 6-8, obviously I'm going to fold, and I've folded. I'll try a raise here, and he 3-bets me again, but it's a min 3-bet, so I kind of have to call, and yuck, nothing doing on the flop. I mean, I could hit something that would be nice, a magic sort of flop, but nope. And pretty big bet into it, and I've just got to give it up. So he's just out aggressing me in every single spot, and you do come across a lot of aggressive guys, and this guy is one of them, and he's a winning player, which is even scarier. I mean, you know, he's running at like 20% over like 40 or 50 games or something like that. That makes him tricky to deal with. Alright, horrible flop for me, and I'm not going to bluff in this spot because I think I get called up by overcards, and if he's got anything like ace-3 or ace-4, obviously, or ace-5, I mean, I could just be in a whole bunch of trouble. Even ace-2, I think he could be calling with a gut shot from overcard in a pair, so got to give it up. Limping, intending to call, and horrible flop, but he checks it, so I'm going to have a crack here, try and take it down, and that worked out okay. Alright, and more aggression from him, of course. And here I limp my queens. The idea is I'm going to check raise him when he raises me pre-flop, and he checks behind. So my first decent hand, and he completely avoids it. I suppose I had 10s before, but I mean, yeah, he completely avoids it. Alright, never mind. I'll check behind here and bet the turn, try and get some value. I think I'm a long way ahead. And he just folds. Easy game for him. Alright, he 3x's pre, of course, and I fold. And here I'm going to limp call, he doesn't raise. And this is an interesting spot. He hasn't raised pre-flop. Not going to have big cards. This is sort of board where he could easily have a pair and or a draw. Obviously I've got a monster draw. I'm just going to flat it. And now he bets a second barrel. I think I could push him around in this spot by raising on the turn, especially if he's got an 8. Say he's got something like, say, you know, a random 8 or a 7 here. I could raise him on the turn and push him off on the river. So that's the plan, and still have outs. So I min raise him here, intending to bluff him on the river, and he folds. So if I had 2 barrels and folded there, that worked out for me. And he's still 3xing at the 20-40 blinds. I'd love to get some hands to shove over the top, but I'm not getting any. Here he raises, and I try 3-betting him. I need to be aggressive and can't just sit around. And he 4-bets me. This is about as bad as things can get. So it's going to cost me 200, and there's like 840 in the pot. Obviously 4-to-1 odds I need to call. I suppose there's 1,000 in the pot now, so I guess that might be even better odds. Oh, horrible flop. And he shoves. Meh. That was just horrible. That was just horrible. Let me take that back about there being 1,000 in the pot. Obviously I was getting 4-to-1 odds. Confused myself with bad maths. Maths is not my strong point. It's more the sort of psychological side of it. Alright. Limping my king 7, he just shoves. I was actually thinking with that king 7, if he raised me, I would shove over the top. Alright, and more aggression from him, and I limp, intending to shove over his raise, and finally I flop something. It's been a while. Alright, check behind, hope he hits something on the turn, and now he bets. I'm just going to min raise him, and he shoves it in, and he's got a flush. That's a real cooler for him, but honestly I feel like I deserved a break. I hadn't hit a flop yet. Oh, barely. And took that one down, so back up to 1,200 chips. And of course he's going to raise, and I'll fold. That's standard. And there again. And going to flat this. And here he bets 200. And a lot of these aggressive guys, the bigger they bet, the worse their hand is. So I'm kind of ruling out a king here. I think he'd go for value with a king by betting a little smaller. I think more likely he's got nothing, or an 8 or a 9, which gives me 2 overcards and a straight draw. I'm just going to flat him. That way I don't have to overcommit. Now he checks the turn. I miss all my outs, but I need to make a stab here to try and, you know, to basically make sure he doesn't bluff me, basically. And also, just in case he does have an 8 and I could be good. And he folds, thank goodness. So that was lucky. Back up to a full stack. And folding. More 3x from him, of course. Folding. Here I try just to make a call, you know. Hopefully I could flop something. And this time his raise size, or his c-bet size, is a lot smaller. And obviously on this particular flop, my straight outs are pretty horrible. If I hit a 10, that's not really the card I want to hit, so I'll just give this up. Alright, a6, limp, intending to call. Have a stab here, get called, and now I'm going to check it down. Just because of the flop texture, these are all sorts of cards that are going to hit his sort of non-pre-flop raising range. So give that up. And he had a 9. Surprised he didn't check raise me, really. Folding my 8-3. And min raise Jack 9 to try and control him, and it works. Fantastic. Here he donks pot, and it's a big donk, like as far as the amount of chips he's betting. And my read is that when he does this, I think he's pretty weak. Here I've got middle pair, and this is one of the questions I often think about. What's the worst hand that you're willing to commit your stack on? And I think in this spot against a guy that's this aggressive, middle pair is it. So I'm going to flat it, check the turn, and sorry, when I say check the turn, check out what the turn is what I meant. And then I'm going to bet. And he min raises me here, pretending he's got a monster, but I'm going with his hand. I'm not going to commit this many chips and fold, so the chips go in. And he actually has a flush draw, which I fade, thank goodness. So his aggression got the worst of him there. Now we've just got to finish him off. Alright, He folds, which quite shocks me. I thought he'd shove the next hand. I'm going to fold this. At this stage, he's down to like 12 big blinds. There's no limping or anything, unless I'm trapping. Alright, 10-5, right, raises and I fold. King 8. I think I could shove here, but I'm going to be a little bit more conservative. And now pocket 4s. Alright, I'll call pocket 4s for however many big blinds that is. It's basically, you know, against a guy that's aggressive, I've got to make a stand. And A6, I fade the flop. That's a pretty good looking flop, and hit the nuts on the turn and quads in the river just to rub it in. So that was a really difficult game against this guy. I mean, I wasn't hitting much. He was super aggressive, putting me under a lot of pressure. But I hope just the thought process I go through against these really aggressive guys is useful for you. You know, like, basically it's all about controlling pot size. And you think, how can you do that? Can you limp and control pot size? Can you min raise? Can you sometimes 3x? Can you fold a few and hope he's going to give you a break? Can you try 3-betting him on junk in order to sort of take some chips off him that way? So they're all the thoughts that I go through. Hope you've enjoyed this one, and until the next one, take care and run good.